Like once you suck a kid into a system and treat them badly and talk down to them, a lot of times they start feeling like they can't do anything else. And when you can trap somebody's mind, you don't really got to worry about what they're gonna do.
And we have observed, all of us have, that far more young people of color spend time in our correctional system.
The United States locks up more juveniles than any other developed country. In the 1800s, juveniles were put in adult prisons before the creation of the juvenile justice system. The first juvenile court for children under 17 in Minnesota was opened in 1905. In 1918, the jurisdiction age was raised to children under 18. Juvenile crime hit an all-time high in the 1990s. Minnesota enacted a blended sentencing law, which under certain circumstances allows juveniles to be tried as adults. In the 2000s, the U.S. saw a significant decline in juvenile crime. Today, we are seeing more movements towards restorative justice programs to rehabilitate juvenile offenders. But in spite of the shift towards restorative practices instead of punitive lockup solutions for youth offenders, there has recently been a move by Hennepin and Ramsey counties to build a brand new youth detention facility. Many community members and activists have denounced this plan and questioned its intentions.
Enslaving our kids. I want to know why you want to keep creating intergenerational cycles of poverty. I want to know why you want to keep brutalizing our children.
The thing is, a lot of people with adult records have juvenile records. Majority have a juvenile record.
You're imprisoning youth like me. Yeah. Me.
They're not thinking 165 beds, we don't need it. You know what I'm saying? That just shows that they don't really care about the people that they're going to throw in there.
And then you continue to imprison people like me, like her, like him. Why?
And make money off of us.
Like, it's always money associated with it. Those bids cost. So it's like, if they can get people in those bids, they can always create this moral panic.
Don't get it! Shut it down!
We know that this won't work, and we know that this project is not going to benefit the community.
They're not in line with where they should be. It's 2016, and you still talking about building something that costs $60 million? It's old thinking, 90s, you know, building facilities.
The first thing to change is recognizing what needs to change and where the problem is.
The facility has since been put on hold after a county advisory board recommended that the counties cancel the design contract with the architecture firm and end the memorandum of understanding between the two counties to cooperate on the facility. A week after the announcement to terminate the plans, we met with Ramsey County Commissioner Tony Carter.
And so as the discussion has proceeded, you know, what you've seen are people struggling with an issue that's very important and coming to some conclusions that adhere to the values expressed by our community. We believe that there may yet be a need for a facility of a sort, but that it should not be large. It should certainly be small, close to home, close to community. You know, the results that you have been able to observe are happening because we have a strong community that really does care about public safety, about kids, and about equity.
But a strong community may not always be enough to stop these facilities from being built. In Seattle, a $210 million replacement Children and Family Justice Center featuring a youth detention facility with 112 beds was recently approved for a master use permit despite strong pushback from the community.
The tribunal participants gathered to formulate strategies to block the replacement of the aging 210-bed facility that was last renovated in 1972.
We know that the prison industrial complex has historically disproportionate rates for locking up black and brown bodies, and we know that this move to build a new youth jail is essentially going to be a direct perpetuation of racism as a system.
And racism is only one of the many flaws that plague our juvenile justice system. Because
I mean, you look at the rates of girls in institutions. Most girls who end up in the juvenile justice system are there due to some kind of sexual victimization. That's the primary pathway of girls in the juvenile justice system.
Many juveniles who are coming into the system have already experienced some type of trauma already, and it's likely that they will be re-traumatized. A survey by the Department of Justice estimates that about 10% of youth in state correctional facilities reported one or more incidents of sexual victimization. This was the case at a boys' treatment facility in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Well, thanks so much for joining us tonight. First in the 10 at 10 rundown, a therapist at a treatment center for troubled teens is arrested for helping two boys escape. And she's also accused of having a romantic relationship with one of those boys.
Then, on top of the sexual abuse that goes on within these facilities, there's also physical abuse and the use of solitary confinement. Staff are often not properly trained to address the needs of residents with mental illnesses. One of the major problems with the juvenile justice system in Minnesota is the disproportionate minority contact rates. For example, youth of color make up 22% of the total youth population, but 48% of delinquency arrests. Minnesota also has the largest commitment disparity between Native American youth out of all of the 50 states. They are 10 times more likely to be committed than white juveniles. It's no coincidence that their on-time high school graduation rate is 45th out of the 50 states, with only 56% graduating on time.
Once you in the juvenile justice, you're already on the radar by police, and it's just another system you go into. People who are incarcerated in adult facilities, on average, most only have a 10th grade education. So what's happening after 10th grade when we can look all across the country and see these people in prison? So it's a direct correlation.
And the school-to-prison pipeline isn't the only pipeline funneling kids into the juvenile justice system. The foster care to prison pipeline is equally dangerous.
Well, kids in the system automatically have higher statistic rates of coming into the judicial system. So whether that be just on probation or actually ending up in jail. You're putting these kids in a cycle, like putting them in prisons is messing up their records, and records being messed up takes away job opportunities. When kids lose job opportunities, what do? They go to make money in different ways or whatever.
Deal with what's making me be out here. A lot of times it's failed systems or broken policies. These suspension policies and expulsion policies, please, man, it's like you kick me out of school, you know. I ain't got a lot to work with. So I think it's like you're putting a lot of people in there who don't got resources.
So what's the solution? Studies have proven that community involvement and the use of restorative justice programs are some of the most effective ways to reduce juvenile delinquency and recidivism rates.
Restorative justice is just an inherently different approach than the punitive approach that our justice system and incarceration system relies on right now. In restorative justice, we are valuing everyone's contributions, and instead of seeing people as criminals, you're looking at choices and decisions and how to rectify mistakes that have been made.
If we give youth opportunities, let them have cameras, let them lead their own businesses, let's do that and let's see what kind of impact we'll have off that.
Communities and people are struggling because they have not been necessarily invested in and empowered and given the resources they need to be successful.
We created Appetite for Change because we believed that there was a need in North Minneapolis as well as other communities for the voices of people to be heard. We feel like the cure is within the people.
Appetite for Change is a community-led organization that strengthens families, creates economic prosperity, and encourages healthy living. They use food as a tool for building health, wealth, and social change in North Minneapolis.
The solution really has to start with what the people most impacted need to be successful.
At this point, we are unsure if a new detention facility will be built in Minnesota or if the focus and funding will shift to these types of alternative restorative solutions that work to support and rehabilitate our youth instead of the punitive model that we have now. We must continue to promote community engagement in the decision-making process because we all have a part to play in taking care of our youth.
What's wrong with the world, mama?
attracted to things that'll bring the trauma. Overseas, yeah, we trying to stop terror.